If you like reading, here's a good article I generated using AI that explains socialism and capitalism and tries to go over as much as it can to solve the issues that we're facing right now as far as the liberty movement goes, and trying to educate people what the real meaning behind the agenda is. Although it doesn't quite go that far, it's obviously a natural consequence of what we're doing here. Written by AI. Markets Without Masters, a Cascadian Vision for Liberty, Pluralism, and a Taxless Welfare State. Introduction: The primacy of diffuse power and strict constitutionalism. In the unfolding drama of human governance, the paramount question is not simply who rules but how power is distributed. The concentration of economic or political authority invariably begets tyranny, curtailing liberty and eroding human dignity. Cascadia, as I envision it, stands as a pioneering experiment, a beacon for a progressive libertarian constitutionalism rooted in strict literalism of natural rights, designed to fragment power, uphold the inviolability of individual autonomy, and craft a welfare state sustained without burdensome taxation. This essay offers an extended meditation and blueprint that synthesizes two distinct but complementary traditions: the classical political economy critique of centralized socialism and the libertarian defense of markets as decentralized knowledge processors, and a new Cascadian model for a welfare state funded by citizen-owned, competitively operated public enterprises rather than coercive taxation. It is a call to reimagine capitalism not as a zero-sum battlefield of plutocrats and workers, but as a dynamic ecosystem of small entrepreneurs, cooperative enterprises, and accountable public utilities, all circumscribed by a robust constitutional order of rights and exit. We begin by clarifying conceptual categories, then dissect the epistemic and institutional shortcomings of Marxism and authoritarian socialism, followed by an exploration of capitalism's strengths as a pluralistic bulwark against tyranny, and conclude with a detailed Cascadian design for governance, welfare, and economic innovation in an era of ubiquitous computation. 1. Defining the terrain: capitalism, socialism, and their variants. To debate governance and liberty requires precision in language. The modern political economy lexicon is fraught with conflations and confusions. Hence, it is essential to distinguish. Capitalism, a system characterized by private ownership of the means of production, MOP, voluntary exchange in free markets, and profit and loss signals that discipline economic actors. Importantly, it is not an ideology per se but an institutional order facilitating decentralized decision-making. Socialism, broadly social ownership or control of MOP, ranging from state planning centralized to cooperative or commons-based models decentralized. Socialism is not monolithic, it spans. State socialism, central planning with public enterprises. Market socialism, social ownership but with market exchange. Decentralized socialism, worker cooperatives, municipal ownership, commons. Social democracy, a hybrid preserving capitalism's price mechanisms and private ownership but imposing democratic constraints, rule of law, antitrust, welfare state, labor rights to ensure fairness and opportunity. Communism marks in the theoretical end state abolishing classes, states, and private ownership of productive assets, replaced by common ownership and distribution from each according to ability to each according to need. Historical attempts at realization resulted in coercive, authoritarian regimes. Each model embodies a distinct approach to power and rights, with implications for liberty, innovation, and social justice. 2. Marxism's institutional flaws, an epistemic and political critique. At the heart of Marxism lies a normative appeal, the abolition of exploitation and hierarchy. Yet, this moral clarity belies deep epistemic and institutional failures. The knowledge problem: Friedrich Hayek and Ludwig von Mises demonstrated that the dispersed, tacit knowledge embodied in millions of market decisions cannot be centralized or aggregated by planners. Prices in free markets are indispensable information signals reflecting relative scarcities and opportunity costs. Their absence blinds the system, leading to chronic misallocations. Incentive erosion, the suppression of residual claimancy and the softening of budget constraints under socialism dull entrepreneurial drive. Innovation, often non-obvious and serendipitous, flourishes under conditions where individuals reap rewards or bear risks, conditions attenuated in political allocation. Public choice pathologies, concentrated political control over production invites rent-seeking, bureaucratic inertia, and authoritarian consolidation. When livelihoods depend on political favor, dissent becomes existentially threatening. The missing entrepreneur Marx's dichotomy between bourgeoisie and proletariat obscures the crucial economic dissident, the small entrepreneur who identifies unmet needs, cobbles capital, and innovates within markets. These actors foster resilience and adaptation. Historically, Marxist regimes suffered from famine, stagnation, repression, and the suppression of pluralism, outcomes consistent with these systemic flaws. 3. Capitalism as polycentric governance and a defense against tyranny. In stark contrast, capitalism's decentralized structure diffuses power across myriad actors, firms, individuals, associations, jurisdictions, creating robust checks against tyranny. The market's emergent order is not chaos but a polycentric discovery process, aggregating tacit knowledge and enabling exit, a critical mechanism for limiting coercion. Rule of law and neutrality, clear, enforceable property and contract laws, impartial courts, and competition policy erect guardrails for liberty. Exit and voice, workers and consumers can exit oppressive firms or jurisdictions, disciplining abuses. Economic pluralism, the multiplicity of business forms, small firms, co-ops, sole proprietorships frustrates any single faction's monopolistic ambitions. Armed citizenship as a last resort, rooted in Republican theory, the right to bear arms symbolizes a last-ditch check on tyrannical consolidation, though day-to-day economic and legal defenses against tyranny, encryption, antitrust, decentralized finance are often more effective. 4. Predatory capitalism, acknowledging realities without abandoning liberty. Capitalism is not a utopia. It can be weaponized by incumbents via regulatory capture, patent thickets, exclusionary practices, and surveillance capitalism. Predatory behaviors, crony capitalism, wage suppression, debt peonage inflict real harms. But the solution is not state monopoly or political control, which exacerbate coercion and distort incentives. Instead, Cascadia's philosophy champions rule of law minimalism, simple, general rules protecting property rights and ensuring transparency. Strong antitrust enforcement, including data portability, right to repair, interoperability mandates. Market openness and exit rights, protecting workers and consumers from monopoly power and informational asymmetries. This approach preserves innovation and pluralism while cabining abuses. 5. Social democracy and democratic socialism, contrasting constraints and risks. Social democracy tames capitalism by enforcing fairness without abolishing market signals or private ownership, investing in universal healthcare, education, labor voice, and social insurance while maintaining competition. Democratic socialism, by contrast, aspires to socialize ownership and deepen decommodification, often through co-ops or public enterprises. This can preserve markets and liberties if carefully designed, but risks politicizing production, inviting the calculation and public choice failures endemic to socialism. 6. Cascadia's blueprint, a progressive libertarian, taxless welfare state. Cascadia's distinctive proposal is a citizen-owned, competitively managed public enterprise portfolio. The Cascadia Commons Company (CCC) funding a universal dividend and social floors without traditional taxation. Key features: ownership and governance, non-transferable shares owned equally by residents, independent boards, citizen assemblies, transparency and anti-capture safeguards. Asset base, utilities, hydropower, ports, infrastructure concessions, spectrum leases, a state bank, and data trusts, all integrated into CCC. Competitive neutrality, CCC competes on equal terms with private firms, abiding by identical safety, labor, and environmental rules, no regulatory favoritism or cross-subsidies. Revenue streams, market-based user fees, lease payments, royalties, and profits replace income or sales taxes. Distribution, universal citizen dividends, guaranteed healthcare and child benefits funded through a stabilization reserve. Governance checks, citizen juries on major moves, competition ombudsman, open procurement. Startup financing, consolidation of public assets, issuance of bonds and resident investment notes, no coercive taxation. This model takes inspiration from precedents like Norway's sovereign wealth fund and Alaska's permanent fund, but innovates with strict competitive neutrality and dividend supremacy, ensuring the public portfolio serves citizens rather than bureaucrats. 7. Institutional antifragility, protecting Cascadia's spirit. To safeguard Cascadia's values, strict conflict of interest rules and revolving door cooling-off periods. Open source governance, public drafts, citizen feedback, assembly-driven agenda setting. No company towns, preventing excessive corporate control over housing, jobs, or services. Data dignity, resident ownership of digital identities with seamless switching. Such mechanisms embed polycentric governance and resilient institutions immune to capture or co-optation. 8. Decentralized manufacturing, arms, and social libertarianism. Cascadia embraces freedom to make and trade lawful goods, strong right to repair maker spaces with light, safety-focused regulation. Firearms policy compliant with law, rights bounded by duties, background checks, serializing, safe storage. No facilitation of illegal manufacture or distribution. This stance contrasts with democratic socialism's tendency toward tighter regulation but finds common ground in empowering lawful, decentralized production. 9. AI, think, learn, and a new frontier of distributed capitalism. Ubiquitous computation will transform labor. AI will absorb repetitive cognitive tasks while amplifying uniquely human judgment. New markets will emerge for ideas, models, and creative curation. Personal AI agents may become microenterprises, enabling individuals to work by thinking. A robust citizen dividend, funded by CCC profits, plus cheap AI services could liberate many from coerced necessity. Education must pivot to logic, ethics, and entrepreneurship to prepare citizens for this evolving landscape. 10. Constitutionalism, libertarianism, and the future of governance. Cascadia's constitutional order enshrines digital rights, privacy by default, encryption without backdoors, algorithmic due process. Reaffirms arms and autonomy rights compatible with modern risk management, decided at the most local feasible level. Promotes thin but smart government, outcome-based rules, open standards, citizen assemblies, and procurement as open tournaments. Treats government as a protocol steward, building rails, identity payments, data trusts on which markets run fair and open services. 11. The moral and practical lessons, why Cascadia's path is both radical and revolutionary. Marxism's enduring appeal was its moral indictment of exploitation and hierarchy. Its failure lies in its institutional designs, which ignore the complexity of knowledge, the power of incentives, and the value of pluralism and exit. Capitalism's market discovery processes and polycentric governance better protect dignity, innovation, and liberty, but only if aggressively guarded against capture and predation. Cascadia offers a syncretic model, a welfare state funded by non-coercive dividends, a constitution enforcing strict literal natural rights, a culture valuing experimentation and maker autonomy, and a market system decentralized and competitive, free of masters but suffused with solidarity. This vision is neither nostalgic nor naive. It is an avant-garde blueprint for a post-capitalist, post-socialist future where power is fragmented, rights are sacred, and all may thrive without subjugation. Conclusion: markets without masters, solidarity without subjugation. The future of liberty demands not the abolition of markets but their transformation into truly distributed, democratic, and accountable ecosystems. Cascadia's blueprint, combining constitutional rigor, progressive libertarian principles, and innovative public enterprise, charts a hopeful course beyond the false dichotomies of capitalism versus socialism. Markets without masters, welfare without taxes, innovation without coercion. This is the promise of Cascadia, a land where freedom and justice are not merely aspirational ideals but constitutional guarantees.